Hi, everyone. Judge Andrew Napolitano here for Judging Freedom. Today is Monday, November 10th, 2025. Larry Johnson will be here with us in just a minute on Donald Trump's dangerous war plans. But first, this. History tells us every market eventually falls. Currencies collapse. And look at where we are now. 37 trillion in national debt. Stocks at record highs defying gravity. So what happens next? Groceries, gas, housing, everything's going up. And this dollar, it buys less every day. When the system breaks, your stocks won't save you and your dollars won't either. But one thing will: gold. I've said it on my show for years. Gold survives collapse. Central bankers know this and billionaires know it. That's why they're buying more. Is it too late to buy, or is it just the right time? Call my friends at Lear Capital to find out. Ask questions. Get the free information. There's no pressure. And that's why I buy my gold and silver from Lear. And right now, you can get up to $20,000 in bonus metals with a qualified purchase. Call 800-511-4620 or go to LearJudgeNap.com today. Larry Johnson, welcome here, my dear friend. Before we get to Trump's dangerous war plans, and before we get to Marco Rubio and Sergei Lavrov, how does the CIA today, and how do veterans of the CIA like you feel about this monster al-Jawlani in the Oval Office today being greeted by the president?
Well, it's sort of ripping the scab off of a hidden truth that we've had, good Lord, now 45 years. So, or, at least 40 years. The United States, on the one hand, has always claimed that since 9/11, that we're in this war on terror against Islamic extremism. And yet, the history of the CIA is closely entwined with funding, training, equipping, both with normal provisions and with arms and ammunition, radical Islamic extremists. We backed them heavily in Afghanistan back in the 1980s. And the relationships that were formed then continued. So, we've sort of created this mythological narrative that, they hate us because of our freedom and they're out to destroy us. And yet, we have, as I said, used them as tools, for example, in the Second Chechen War in Russia. That was an effort with the CIA and MI6, putting money in the hand of the kinds of terrorists that we claim attacked us on 9/11. So, I mean, it's just, it's absurd. And here's, one of the former ambassadors who served in the Bureau of Counterterrorism, or what's now called the Bureau of Counterterrorism. They've had him on tape. We're talking about how with MI6, he was introduced to al-Shabaab. And this is back when, Jawlani, using his nom de guerre, was walking around with a long beard and dressed in combat fatigues like Volodymyr Zelensky. And under Jawlani, they murdered Christians, murdered Shia Muslims, murdered Alawites, was involved with attacks on U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Now, I put that in... That's not terrorism. When you're attacking military forces, I'm not in favor of it, but that's part of war. But it's the attacks and the brutality against civilians, women, and men and children. And he's got blood on his hands. But, we go, no big deal.
Is he a creature of the CIA?
He is. I think he's been recruited by the CIA. I don't know at what point in... he was in jail in Iraq. And then at some point he gets out and he's aligned with ISIS. And then, the ideological difference, he gets into al-Nusra. And somewhere in that transition process, he comes in contact with U.S. intelligence. And I don't know if he was it was a financial arrangement, what the recruitment process was, but clearly he has been aligned with CIA interests for well over a decade.
Well, you think the president? Well, how could you possibly know if Trump has an indication of his horrific personal background as a butcher of human beings?
Yeah. Well, we go back in our history. We've always found what I'll call moral flexibility in dealing with people on the one hand that we claim are monsters, and then they become our monsters and they're okay.
Right. We've been doing this for generations. Is Trump free to drop his zealous Zionism? It's almost it's almost like when he addressed the Israeli Knesset, he practically said he's not free to drop it as long as Mrs. Adelson is still around with her $60 billion in the bank.
Well, I think as Alistair has outlined, the role that the Adelsons and others played in salvaging Trump's real estate business. When he was facing financial collapse, and this small group of Jewish billionaires rescued him. So you can at least give him credit that he's loyal to those who helped him out in the past. But the problem is his message. He became what he is by emphasizing America first. And yet what has happened this year is America has taken a backseat to the Zionist cause. And it's important I don't want to label it as the Jewish cause, because when, last time I checked, Mike Huckabee is not Jewish, and neither is Ted Cruz. And so you've got, and neither is Marco Rubio. So you've got the Christian Zionists along with the Jewish Zionists that pursue this notion that they are an entitled, no supremacist people that can do anything they want because God told them that they could. And so, Trump has essentially sold out to that crowd, and I don't think he can get loose.
Does Marco Rubio want to meet with Sergei Lavrov?
I don't know. What Lavrov said is that they talked to Rubio. Apparently, it was not an unpleasant conversation where there was no hope of going forward. But Lavrov has emphasized that the diplomatic door is open, but he's also reminded Rubio, and it's incumbent upon Rubio to remind Donald Trump that the Russian demands are clear and they are not for negotiation. That Crimea, Zaporizhia, Kherson, Donetsk, Luhansk are now permanent parts of Russia. They are part of the Russian Federation. They're not going back to Ukraine. That's number one. And NATO needs to completely cut all ties with Ukraine, and Ukrainian troops need to withdraw back into Ukrainian territory. And they're not, that's not up for negotiation. There is no daylight between Putin or Lavrov. And what we've seen this week is quite a bit of desperation on the part of the West. I likened it to, the drowning passengers off of the Titanic thrashing about in the frosty water, trying to find something to float on. So Putin held two meetings last week. The first one was basically dealing with the arms control testing, nuclear testing. All the key national security figures were there, except for Lavrov. So that led to an immediate spate of rumors that, oh boy, Putin is upset with Lavrov, and Lavrov is on his way out. And then a day or two later, there was another national security meeting. We still don't have the details on what that was, but Lavrov wasn't at that. And so people said, oh my God, he's gone for sure. Well, Lavrov popped up. I don't know if he had a cold or if he's taken a few days off, but he's back. And he was saying the same thing that Vladimir Putin said to the foreign ministry back in June of 2024. So, the Russians are united, at least at the leadership level, about what the policy is. And it's just, Trump and Rubio refuse to listen.
Here's Lavrov earlier today, November 10th, on the START Treaty. Chris, number 5.
The constructive initiative put forward by President Vladimir Putin in the post-New START context speaks for itself. It contains no hidden agenda and is perfectly clear for understanding. Its practical implementation would not require any special additional efforts. Therefore, we do not consider it necessary to hold in-depth discussions on this proposal. The only thing required is reciprocity from the United States. We will voluntarily adhere to the restrictions only if, and precisely for as long as, the other side does the same. Naturally, should the Americans have any questions, they are free to raise them with us. So far, there has been no substantive response from Washington. We have been informed through diplomatic channels that the issue is under consideration. We have no intention of keeping persuading anyone. We believe that our step serves the interests of both parties and the entire international community. We are ready for any development of events while hoping for a positive outcome.
START expires in February. The Russians are willing to stick with it for another year. When Trump was asked about this 2 months ago, he said, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, unfortunately, the U.S. is the one that's got the track record of walking away from these arms control agreements. And, it's one thing if you walk away from an agreement and you wind up in a stronger position, but in every single case, we're in a weaker position. George W. Bush walked away from the anti-ballistic missile treaty agreement back in 2002, and instead, the country that then developed anti-ballistic missile air defense systems was Russia, not the United States. We got the Patriot missile battery, which it's good against some conventional missiles or drones, but not against ballistic hypersonic missiles. It's completely ineffective. Whereas Russia actually has something plausible. Same thing on the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Agreement. That was designed to put constraints on, missiles that could travel, I think, 2,000 miles or less. Again, here's Russia now. They're fielding the Orushnik, which is, again, the West has nothing to compare with that, nothing to counter it, and so. On every single one of these agreements, when the United States has walked away from it, Russia has made dramatic advances in those very areas. And I guarantee you, if Trump lets New START lapse, the Russians will probably pretty quickly reveal that they've now got a new intercontinental ballistic missile, probably that is hypersonic. And when we say that, all ballistic missiles travel, above the say Mach 6. But the key is, can you maneuver them while in flight? And that's, I think, the kind of next advance you're going to see out of Russia if the United States doesn't say, hey, yeah, let's stick with New START. Let's go forward with this.
Will Russia come to Venezuela's aid if the U.S. attacks?
Not overtly. I don't see Russia wanting to extend itself. They're going to focus on right now finishing the war in Ukraine. They've also got Iran as part of their strategic alliance. They have provided weapons and air defense systems, I'm sure, and some advisors, but they're not looking to establish themselves militarily in Venezuela and then get into a fight with the United States over that. Again, Putin's overall objective is to try to have normal relations with the United States where we're not pointing a gun at each other. We take the guns, holster them up, and sit and talk, have a coffee, instead of arming yourselves to the teeth to fight one another.
And what happens when we invade Venezuela?
Boy, potential nightmare scenario. If we put ground troops in, right now there are not enough troops offshore that would allow the United States to secure anything of significance. And once you put U.S. Marines on shore, then the potential for them to be ambushed and killed in a variety of ways goes way up. The terrain, I jokingly said that Venezuela is Spanish for Vietnam, but the reality is Venezuela represents far more formidable territory than Vietnam, much more mountainous. Still, this triple canopy jungle that we saw in Vietnam. The road network through the mountains is such that if the U.S. is going to, you've got two ways to travel. You're going to travel by road, you're going to walk or ride, or you're going to go in a helicopter. Venezuela has enough shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles that they could render our helicopter fleet, shoot several of them down. So it'll be a high-risk operation with those helicopters, which leaves the ground ops. And the ground ops take you through ambush territory. In Afghanistan, we had trouble. There, the mountains were not covered with heavy jungle growth. They are in Venezuela. So, it would be a real challenge. And all we'd be biting off is a sustained guerrilla war. Those folks down there, they're armed, and then the borders getting across from Colombia and Brazil, uncontrollable. I mean, this would be one of the greatest strategic blunders in American history if Trump goes forward with this.
Here's the Secretary of Defense, who calls himself the Secretary of War. The United States is now in wartime footing, Larry. Cut number 4.
We're not just buying something. We're solving life and death problems for our warfighters. We're not building for peacetime. We are pivoting the Pentagon and our industrial base to a wartime footing. Building for victory should our adversaries FA/FO.
Yeah, this is not a podcast. Okay, yeah, I've used the acronym FA/FO. Fudge around, find out. Yeah, it's one thing to do it in social media. For God's sake, he is the top civilian official in charge of the Pentagon. And that kind of juvenile behavior is unbecoming, but it also sends an alarming message to serious people overseas in China and in Russia, because all they can see from that is you've got somebody who lacks judgment. And they're going to have to assume, if you're faced with a scenario of is the United States going to do something crazy or not, you're going to have to assume they're going to be crazy, because Hegseth has shown no kind of mature judgment. He's a clown.
How do the troops react when he sounds like they do?
Well, the 18, 19-year-olds probably love it. I mean, that's they're not known for having great maturity at that age, but the seasoned veterans, they've got to listen to that and say, this is unbecoming to someone in that position. And again, this notion, why are we preparing for war? Why aren't we building bases for peace? Why aren't we looking to forge ties of cooperation and collaboration instead of confrontation? So this entire mentality is wrong.
He did announce shortly before we went on air that they killed 6 more people in these speedboats. It's now 19 speedboats and 76 human beings murdered, and 2 survivors. I'm waiting for the survivors to file lawsuits, but they haven't been filed yet. But I guess there's no stopping this. Congress doesn't have the votes or the understanding of the Constitution to stop it. The president thinks, this shows some sort of macho masculinity by killing these people before they get to our shores. We have no names, no evidence, Nothing. We just take Seth's word for it that they're bad guys and therefore we killed them. I almost can't believe that this is happening.
Well, we've been, let's be honest about it. We've been doing it now repeatedly for more than 24 years since 9/11. In the aftermath of 9/11, and the president was given authorization for the authorized use, AUMF it was called, authorized use for military force. Traditional rules of engagement were dramatically relaxed, and organizations like the CIA and like the Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC, were given broad authority to launch kill capture missions, and there's emphasis on the killing without necessarily engaging somebody that was pointing a gun at you, threatening to shoot you. We would decide that a particular person, like Anwar al-Awlaki, an American citizen who was a cleric, a Sunni cleric, and was espousing ideas that we considered radical. Remember, it was Barack Obama, I think it was Obama, that authorized killing him. And it's an extrajudicial murder. Our law, who am I to teach you about the law? But our system, in theory, was designed to say, you know what? You are innocent until the government proves beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty. And then once you're adjudged to be guilty, then the government can take punitive action, whether it's incarceration or even, in the worst case, execution. But just because we think you're a bad guy, just because we don't like something that you've written, just because you're holding a meeting that we don't approve of, is not in accordance with U.S. law to just go out and kill them. And yet we've got the likes of Lindsey Graham, saying, lower your taxes and kill the right people. Well, who are the right people? It's the people that don't agree with Lindsey.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, this is disgusting, and it's dangerous because, Americans have become immunized to wanton killing. That instead of finding ways to diplomatically solve problems, we've been conditioned that the best way is to kill them, even if they're not threatening your life or posing an imminent threat to your life or serious bodily harm. Our solution is kill them, and that hasn't bought us peace at all. After 9/11, it's not made the world a safer place.
Larry, on a lighter note, before we go, one of the chatters, the people that email us during the show, has asked if your shirt today is alive.
Yeah. The problem with wearing this shirt is if I go to like Home Depot or Lowe's or, and you go into their garden area where they got all the plants, if I fall down, nobody would see me. I'd be camouflaged.
Thank you, Larry. I know you're traveling. I'm not sure when we'll see you next, but I hope we can see you again before the week is out. Nevertheless, safe travels. Thanks for your time. All the best, my friend.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. Coming up at 1:05 this afternoon from Tehran, Iran, Professor Mohammad Marandi, Judge Napolitano for Judging Freedom.